Hi, welcome to Parents Gap Year, the podcast that celebrates
living to travel and travelling to live.
I'm Anne-Marie McCormack, filmmaker and radio presenter.
And I'm Rod Gray, videographer and photographer.
We're married.
To each other.
And as our children are young adults who've almost fled the nest, this year we're travelling around the world ourselves.
Lots of people say they'd like to do this, so we're having a go at showing you how it can be done, with some top tips along the way.
So this is our warts and all travel experience where we reveal our highs and lows, what we learn about each other.
And more importantly, the great characters that we meet along the way.
Fabrizio, who's one of the guests, and your partner, what is he called?
No, he's my friend.
He's your friend, sorry.
I'm single, don't worry.
You're single?
I'm gay, but I'm single.
Why are you single?
A lot of that looks fairly abandoned. Yeah, you probably find that's what's for sale for €1.
So, yeah, real life. It makes it all the more precious when you are in a beautiful place and you can see you have to enjoy every moment because you never know what's around the corner for any of us. First, we're off to Sardinia, Sicily, and unexpectedly, Dublin.
Just let me get some of the ambient sounds.
Oh, is that what it
lapping
is?
of the sea and
The lapping of the sea. Because we are currently in Sardinia, in a place called...
Costa Paradiso.
I'm glad you can remember the name.
Always ask me for where we are.
I'll always ask you
And
for where
it is
we
in
are.
the world.
Because you took us here. This is a momentous year. Not only are we 25 years together.
I'm glad you can remember them all.
I was going to say 25 and then I made a mistake. So at this very moment, we are looking at the most glorious sunset, which you're doing a time lapse for right now. And it is in the most beautiful place in the north of the country, and it's got the most incredible rock formations.
It's granite rock for those geologists out there who are interested. And some basalt, I think, as well. Which puts minerals into the water, makes it very turquoise.
Yeah, very see-through water. We love swimming. And one of the most incredible things we saw the other day was an octopus. It had the most incredible silvery blue colour that then changed to blue.
Yeah,
and then
changed colours.
Yeah, and then it hid under the rocks and made itself spread out. I felt like I was having an octopus teacher moment, which is this incredible film. Anyway, 25 years into our relationship, we have decided to take a sabbatical for a year.
Off work. Hooray.
Off work. We both teach at universities, filmmaking skills and narrative and all that. There's people in the background. There's a lot of
They've
people
come
have
to
just
watch the
arrived.
sunset as well.
Yeah, there are people. There's a couple who are flying a drone and obviously doing a sunset time lapse as well. The other day we met a couple who'd just married, and we're on the other end of that. 25
5 minutes
years
till
down the-
sunset, I think now. Isn't it?
5 minutes. It happens
Possibly
very
5
quickly.
minutes, yeah.
But we have decided we want to record our trip and call it Parents Gap Year, because our oldest has just finished university and the other is in university in his last year. So we are now in that sweet spot where our parents luckily are still alive and none of them hopefully critically ill. Fingers crossed. Rod is
Touching
doing
wood
that.
all over.
Yeah, so we are in this
Hear
sweet
that?
spot, tapping on a bench. We are actually sitting on a bench looking out
Made out of
to this
driftwood.
incredible sunset, which is literally a ball of orange at the moment. So, yeah, reluctantly you're joining the podcast, is that true?
I'm sure I'll gather pace as we get going.
If I don't say too much, you will maybe speak.
When you pause.
Okay, I'm going to pause. And one of the challenges I said to you today I'm going to do, because you were criticising me for speaking too much,
I'm not
is
sure
that
was a criticism.
I think it was, actually.
It was a highlight.
I said, okay, well, if I stop talking, then maybe you'll fill in more gaps. Is that right?
Maybe.
So you are currently a gap filler in between.
Ah, you just call me Polly then.
Okay. So off you go there, Rod.
I can tell you what on our itinerary then. So we've done Sardinia for the last week in the Costa Paradiso, not Spain, it's Italy. And it's beautiful. Couldn't recommend it enough for people. It's a small part of the coast, up in the north part of Sardinia. But tomorrow we leave this wonderful place, watching our last sunset here, and we have a short flight to Sicily, more Italian islands. We'll go and explore there some more for another 10 days or so. Oh wow, look at that sun. It's just doing something amazing as it's touching the horizon.
I'm short-sighted.
Lucky I'm
So I
filming it.
can't see what it's doing.
like a mushroom
so
cloud.
amazing. Yes, I can see that. It's a bit blurry around the edges, but it is.
Oh, well, that's us.
Thank you. We're a bit blurry around the edges, is what his filler the gap person has just said. I think the interesting thing about doing a trip like this is we are going to be with each other 24/7. We've often worked together and that's never an issue, and we obviously live together, but we do have other people around us. At the moment where we are is very quiet because it's the end of the summer season. So normally we would be starting teaching at this point. So it's really strange not to be working.
But we're getting used to it.
You can talk about the wild boars and then I'll go on
Then
to
you'll
the
be
profound thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
There's
go on.
wild boars here in Sardinia as well. Luckily they're not vicious and so they're not that wild, but they are definitely wild pigs roaming around. It's quite something. They were on the beach earlier.
And
just
on
by
the swimming
beach,
pool.
And around the swimming pool.
Around the swimming pool today. About 5 of them, which is
Yeah.
amazing.
Enough of me and the boars.
You're boring me. Sorry, couldn't resist that.
I throw it up, you just whack it out the park.
I do, yeah. What I was going to say is we were always going to take this sabbatical. We were going to do it last year, but we couldn't do it because our son was recovering from a knee operation. So that halted us in our tracks. But over that year, you also got severe sciatica and were basically out of action, and you had a finger operation and our son had a wrist operation. So actually it wouldn't have been a good year to go away anyway. Gave us an extra year to save. And also during lockdown I had breast cancer and had a lumpectomy and radiotherapy. So actually this is a kind of time where we're going, right, we're through the worst of the health things, and you got a cortisone injection, touch wood, banging the bench, and hopefully neither will come back to haunt us. So we're looking on this as a time out, having worked hard for the last 25 to 30 years. But also, I was just going to say one more profound thing, and I can't bloody remember what it was now.
You're allowed to swear on this podcast?
Yes. Oh, yeah, the other profound thing. And it's not really profound at all. It's our kids, especially our oldest son, has travelled more than we have. And that was kind of getting a bit annoying because he'd come back from world travels and go, oh, you must go to this place, this place, this place. And, you know, all across Asia, South America, Australia. We've been to Australia and places before, but not Southeast
We're
Asia.
going again.
Yeah. So we wanted to kind of clock up a few more countries because he has actually, at 24, been to more countries than both of us, which is really bloody annoying.
Bit country envy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got to go and get my camera. Let's finish the time lapse now.
Okay. Good time to sign off then.
Here's the church behind us.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Well, if we park up,
I'm
we'll
going to
just
park
have a
in the
look.
shade here.
Yeah. Mind you, I'm wearing a halter neck top and a bikini top
Doors
underneath
closed. They're not letting you in.
it. They wouldn't let me in.
They wouldn't let you in in any case.
I wouldn't blame
You're
them.
banished from these type
Yeah,
of
and a
places.
little pair of
and I
shorts
won't
and
set foot in
flip-flops.
them in any case.
Yeah, well, you
Oh look,
do.
there's someone nailed to a cross. What a surprise.
Now.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
For anyone who's...
Yes, there will be people who'd be very offended by this. But anyway, we're all different in the world. And that's
accept
what
everybody
makes...
in their differences.
Exactly. Whatever
Except
you're
those
into,
you can't
it's fine
accept.
by me. Yeah. Stop, Rod. Jesus Christ. Christ. And I said, Jesus Christ, because I've been brought up in Ireland where everybody says Jesus Christ as part of the language. So apologies to anybody that is listening
I'll take a photo.
thinks that is a blasphemous thing to say. It's not. It's what we say in Ireland. Like we say, oh my God, a lot. I did say warts and all was going to happen on this trip, and this is what the reality is. People think, oh my God, I get so many messages from friends going, oh, I'm so jealous. I can't believe you're doing this. This is great. Yes, it is great, and we've planned for it and all of that.
And the weather's lovely.
And everything, but life intervenes. And today I heard my dad is seriously ill and he's in hospital, and I hope he makes it, but he may not make it. It's that serious. So when I did put my phone on, I discovered that my father was in hospital or en route to hospital, and I knew he hadn't been well. I have a very active siblings WhatsApp group with 5 sisters and a brother, and so we're on it every single day. So I'm always in touch with what's going on, even though I live in Bristol and they live in Ireland.
They update everybody.
Yeah,
every day.
and sometimes it's just little funny videos or a photo of something funny that happened, or discussion about who's picking up whom or who's going to see our parents or whatever. But today, when I switched my phone on, I realised there was actually something very serious going on, because I can't remember how many messages, but there were quite a few, and I was going, oh my God, here we go. And I was aware my dad wasn't 100%, and a doctor was coming to him today in the nursing home he's in, and he was sent by an ambulance to hospital. So where we're at now is he may pull through, and he's getting all the care he needs. He's on an antibiotic and they're testing him for all sorts, but he's not a well man. So he's 89, and you get to that point where you're going, we have discussed this prior to even travelling. We were going, at some point in this year, because luckily so far all of our parents or step-parents are alive, which is very unusual when we're in our 50s.
And they're all in their 80s.
And they're all in their 80s. Yeah, no one in their 90s yet. But my dad is closest to his 90s. Yeah. In 3 months, he'll be 90. So actually, we kind of have discussed, if this happens and we need to get back for someone being critically ill or for a funeral, we will do that. I saw my dad only 3 weeks ago, so it's not like I haven't seen him, had conversations with him, said goodbye to him, because every time I say goodbye to him, I think it could be the last time. And actually the very last time I saw him, even though I've seen him about 6 times this year, I feel like maybe this was the last time I was going to see him, but I could be wrong. But oddly, when you're away, you're somewhat once removed from a situation, and another of my family is away at the moment as well. And we're, texting and discussing and whatever. But it gets down to very brass tacks, as in discussions about resus and all of those kind of things, which we were asked by the nurse today. So yeah, this is the most critical I think my dad has ever been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, so that is sad and real and scary, and I wish I was there with them, and yet I'm here having a beautiful time. And that is life, isn't it? You have good times, you have bad times, and you just have to shake it up and
roll with it.
And roll with it and make decisions accordingly. Yeah. And hopefully we won't have many of these this year. Hopefully not. Yeah. It's been one of those days where my brain is fried, and everybody in the family I've been talking to, their brains are fried as well, and they're right in the thick of it right now. So partly as a distraction and end of day thing, we are going on a mountain road to one of these €1 towns You can explain that, Rod, a bit better than I can.
There's a scheme in Sicily that's trying to regenerate the sort of forgotten property, abandoned property in old towns that people have moved out of or died from and people don't want to live, and they're selling it off through a government scheme. A lot of tumble down, in need of renovation properties for €1, and there's about 35 towns we've signed up to the scheme, and we are going to look at one of them that's relatively close to where we're staying, and it's called Sambuca, probably pronounced differently, and we are on our way. Actually, I think that was the exit. Give me a moment. We're going around a roundabout, and I'm trying to talk and navigate in the dark, as it is dark now. Okay, I think I've got the right exit. There we go. But all this bit's quite sweet.
This is lovely, actually. We're heading for the old town.
This is where I tried to bring us to.
It is really, really gorgeous.
Oh, that's rather lovely.
Much nicer than the newer town down below.
It's often the way.
We tend to like old towns rather than new ones.
Often the way. Where can we park?
So we've just come up a flight of steps. We're in the old town, and actually on one side of the road there is an incredible array of beautifully renovated, and some now in the process of being renovated. But there's no signs obviously saying what's a £1 property and what's a €1 property and what's not. But it's amazing when people do put some time and effort into doing something, but also really in keeping with the environment, which I think is the most important thing. Whoever does take on projects like this, that they really do it. A lot
of the houses we're seeing around Sicily, they're just all the renders fallen off the walls, so they all look a bit shabby. But keeping some of the stone is lovely, and then putting a bit of render back over the shabby bits makes a massive difference. I mean, that's a lovely square that they've done. I don't know if that's part of the scheme, but
and there's a colonnade. It's
a little old bit of Roman colonnade. Yeah, we're up quite high. It's windy.
Overlooking a big town across the mountain, basically, or the valley. Yeah.
I mean, that looks fairly abandoned down there, doesn't it? A lot of that looks fairly abandoned. Yeah, you'll probably find that's what's for sale for €1.
So we've just walked down a really lovely street, which is into the main kind of square, and there is a building that is really fantastic, huge building, but has a government sign or
European sign on it, so it may be something of significant building. Sort of 2-storey building, renders all fallen off, looks quite dilapidated, plants growing out of the roof, out of the walls. But it's still got shutters on and stuff like that.
Beautiful balustrades, and if that's one of the £1, €1 properties, we would be
that
laughing.
Looks slightly different, but I mean, you can see there's a mixture of kind of old, dilapidated, and new here in this town. So if that's part of the regeneration, that's quite something. But I mean, we're aware that, as you were saying just before we started recording, that if you developers get in touch, get involved with things like this and do them up and then use them as Airbnbs or something like that, or high rentals, then they can start to affect the whole economic kind of social structure of a community, and price people out, which has happened in Porto and Lisbon in Portugal, where we were earlier this year for a while, and I went to Porto 10 years ago, and it was, lots of properties in need of renovation come back now, and they've been done, and whole neighbourhoods have been done.
And Lisbon apparently is really suffering because the locals literally can't afford to rent in their own city. Yes, the worst actually has happened, and got a call this morning saying my father was, I heard a message from my sister saying my father had been moved into a private room last night, and out of ICU, and I actually thought, oh, that's great, and my sisters thought that that was a really good thing and maybe he was turning a corner. And then later this morning I heard that my sister and my mother and everybody was asked to come into the hospital, and that he'd taken, well, to get to the hospital, not that he'd taken a turn for the worse, they didn't say that, but it would be a good idea to get to the hospital. So my family were, toing and froing on the WhatsApp, who was going to take my mum and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, oh, well, he probably has taken a turn for the worse then. That doesn't sound very good, but they didn't say a lot on the phone. And then when they got there, they discovered that he had actually died at 8:30 in the morning, and the call that they had made was a way of getting them to come and see him, but they didn't want to say at that point that he'd already passed away because the doctor was concerned that they might rush over and then cause themselves to have an accident or something like that in panic that might have brought. So as he'd already passed away, and they weren't aware of that. But then obviously the devastation of turning up and then realising he wasn't alive any longer. So they've spent the whole afternoon and morning in the room, and I actually was on video call so I could see him myself, and that's quite cathartic. And a lot of the family are there. I'm away and another sister is away. Obviously booking flights now to get back and to be with the family for the funeral and all that. And in Ireland things tend to happen much quicker than in the UK in terms of any kind of funerals. They happen often between 2 to 3 days, but discovered that it's not going to happen till after the weekend, and this is Wednesday, so it won't happen till Monday at the earliest. So I am in shock, and it's really strange and very upsetting, but also I'm happy that I saw my father about 3 weeks ago, and we had said our goodbyes then, and I kind of guessed that that was the last time I was going to see him. I didn't think it was going to be quite so imminent, but it was a very lovely goodbye, and I love you and all that, so I feel at peace, and he could say his piece. And apparently he didn't suffer this morning, and he passed away quite peacefully, which is a real godsend as well. So yeah, real life. It makes it all the more precious when you are in a beautiful place and you can see you have to enjoy every moment, because you never know what's around the corner for any of us.
Shaka is the local town where we're staying, and it is an amazing, lovely town. We've got Alexandro, who is our pool boy, but also makes amazing Aperol spritz, and we've sat down with him, and Fabrizio, who's one of the guests, and your partner, what is he called?
No, he's my friend.
He's your friend, sorry.
I'm single, don't worry.
You're single?
I'm gay, but I'm single.
Why are
Don't
you
worry.
single? Fabrizio, come on. You cannot be single. He is like, I thought you were going to tell me you were a model, to be honest, and he ran a tobacco shop, but I thought you were a model, sorry, in your past life. So we have just been talking to Fabrizio, and he showed us a photo of his mum and just said that she had
And
died.
your heart don't feel very well.
Oh, pulmonary disease. Okay.
Yes.
So literally, his mum has just died a week ago.
Yes, a week ago.
And my dad has just died on Wednesday. So this is just unbelievable that we're just chatting, and this has come out in the conversation. But yeah, as you say, is life.
Yes.
But so sad to...
Yes, very sad.
Yeah.
questo è tuo papà.
tuo papà.
Yeah, that's my
No, suo
dad.
padre.
My dad.
Sì, suo
yeah.
padre.
Yeah.
Yes. Sì, ho capito che suo padre.
Rod's to show
My
Fabrizio.
mother.
Oh, that's such a beautiful. She looks young to me.
Yes.
So she was 80.
Yes,
She looked
yes.
amazing for 80.
This picture is about 2 years ago.
Okay, right.
But
you have
the
good
same.
genes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, it's just so sad. I mean, what it makes you feel is, you know, this is my first parent to die, and it's like, okay, so we are next. You know,
Yes.
we are next. Yeah.
Oh, I hope not.
Well, I hope not. It's very strange for me being here because this is our last night before we fly back to the funeral,
Sì.
and I feel because I'm here, I'm removed, you know, until I go back home and see all my family.
Yes.
It feels like it hasn't happened really, you know, until I see my dad, until I see my family. Yeah.
Yes.
You know, it feels different.
But it's the same of me.
Yeah.
Now I'm confused.
Yeah. Did you see her recently?
Just this morning.
When did you last?
I'll get there.
Yeah, Rod is doing
When did
Google
you last-
Trans-
I'm doing the
When
typing.
did you last
Yeah.
see your mum before she?
Quando ho visto l'ultima
Yeah.
volta mamma,
Saturday.
2 hours about she's
Saturday.
dead.
Oh, okay, so
Yes.
very
Yes.
recent.
Yes.
Very recent.
Saturday.
Okay.
Sì, no, 2 ore prima di morire.
We're on our way to the airport to Palermo to Dublin, and we are about to embark upon a big family event, no doubt. Everybody coming from everywhere, which will be both fantastic and extremely sad. And
Proper Irish wake.
A proper Irish
There'll
wake,
be
yeah.
music and singing and storytelling.
yeah,
Maybe a drink or two.
maybe. I'm in Dublin now after a 3-hour flight from Sicily, and the first thing we had to do as a family was to go to the funeral home and see my father laid out. Lots of relatives and friends and people showed up, people who couldn't go to the funeral tomorrow, so it's quite a shocking reality when you actually see your parent, who you've seen only a month before, laid out in a coffin. And honestly, the thing that struck me the most was how pale he was. Basically, while at the funeral home, there was amazing array of photographs on a screen with my father ruddy-faced and smiling and laughing at parties and family. And I was super aware of watching him laid out, looking still and very pale and lifeless. And this is the Irish way, and very important. And also, it really made the whole situation very real.
So as we gather, let us now be seated for a few moments, and I'd like to welcome Anne Maria to explain the gifts.
Ken, Daddy's only son and fellow electrician, is bringing up pliers to represent Daddy's love of his work. Jessie, Billy's granddaughter, our grandson, dare I say. Sorry about that, Jessie. He's bringing up a photograph of Daddy's very large family. And Lorna, who's a fellow artist, my father loved art, and she's bringing up an easel which represents my father's love of art, which he took up later in life.
I'd like to welcome Ruth and Ali to say a few words on Billy and his life.
Dad absolutely loved being a spark, and allegedly he was the best one in the country. From the horse's mouth, that is. He'd use any excuse to talk about the days that he wired all the corporation flats in town and all the characters that he met. He'd tell us about the different types of trunking he used, from chasing the walls to first fixing this and second fixing that. As kids, he had us make up kits for pocket money. That was before child labour was abolished, obviously.
He worked 6 days a week, but Sunday was ours. He always tried to make it a fun day, which I know we all looked forward to. Family meant the world to Daddy. He loved and cherished all of his children equally.
Especially Pam. Daddy, you were a bleep the best of times, but we loved the friggin' bones of you.
Even though it all went wrong, I'll stand right here for the Lord of Song with nothing on my tongue but hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. To Daddy, we love you.
Story of Daddy, because he is hilarious and we could write a trilogy on all his stories. I mean, seriously. But one that just brings to mind, I was thinking of it in the car actually on our way from the funeral. Daddy had the task emergency bell thing in the house, you know, in case he had a heart attack or something serious actually happened to either one of them, you know. So one Sunday about a year ago, I was sitting down just about to have a Sunday roast, looking forward to it, and the emergency services called me and said, look, the emergency bell has gone off in your dad's house. And I went, oh Jesus, all right, okay. And he said, you know, we can't get a hold of them. So I said, look, I'm across the road, I'll nip over, make sure he's all right. So I go over and Billy's sitting there watching the telly, and I said, are you all right, Daddy? And he goes, aye, not a bother. And I said, all right. I said, because it's weird, I got a call from the emergency services. And he goes, yeah, that's right, yeah, I rang the bell all right. And I said, for what? Like, what's wrong with you? I can't find me bread. This is as true as God. And I said, you what?
So there was the second funeral also for Billy, which was a cremation, which was also quite a fun affair, if that's the right thing to say. But there was some, the priest was very funny, and there was some music and people spoke, and it was a personal thing. Unfortunately, I missed some of the second service at the crematorium because I decided at the middle of it all to go to someone else's funeral just to see if I could get 3 funerals in one day. One of which I still to this day don't know who they were. But there's obviously a chain of events that have led this to this stupidity of me, because anybody who knows me knows that I'm not really like that. I'm pretty on it. I kind of know where I'm going, and I kind of, you know, people can follow me. Yeah. But that day, I got delayed at the church of the first service, partly carrying Billy's pliers and golf balls and pictures, the props that were in the service, which were great. And I'd offered to put them in my car, and I was the last to leave. So when I got there, the car park was rammed to the point I had to wait for people to leave actually the the premises so I could get in and park. So I waited another 5 minutes. But when I was getting out of the car, I did sort of do a double take, thinking, I'm not seeing anyone here I know. So I strolled in, like I was supposed to be there, dressed slightly inappropriately because we had just come back from Italy. So I'm in some white linen trousers and some trainers and trying to look quite smart, but clearly standing out amongst people wearing black. But having a quick wander around, realised there was no one there I knew, and I quickly realised that I was at someone else's funeral, that I had no idea who they were, or why I was there, or where the funeral that I should have been was actually happening. So I then got my phone out, and I could have just rung you, but I didn't. I kind of tracked you on Find My Phone app.
Find My Wife tracking device.
Which proved its weight in gold in this situation, because I discovered that you were on the M50 heading towards Dublin, nowhere near where I was. And I knew that you weren't lost, because occasionally you do get a little lost with your sense of direction, but I knew you weren't lost because you're in the funeral car. Anyway, I discovered that you were a good 25 minutes away.
And you missed the whole first bit, which was the bit where I was singing Danny Boy, and no one has recorded that.
And that was the bit that I really wanted to be there to record, to which I had listened to all the week before when we were in Italy with you preparing. So I just wanted to see the, culmination of all your fantastic work.
Next, we're going to Singapore and Koh Samui in Thailand.
How do you make a small fortune in Thailand? Bring a big one with you.
Got a bit of sun after the tropical storm of yesterday. It rained all day and all night yesterday, like I've never seen before. But that's the tropics for you. Today, different day. To redo my balls to a different size. So they're now more like elephant balls.
Yeah, obviously their trunks are not that big.
This podcast has been created and edited by Anne-Marie McCormack with her collaborator and co-traveller Rod Gray. Music is by Serge Guidoado and Segvari, with the sound mix by Gary McIntyre. If you'd like to see pictures and videos of the places we've been to and the people we've met, please go to the Parents Gap Year Instagram page. And if you've enjoyed the podcast, please follow and share it. Thanks so much for listening.